Okay, so the two-part question there. First of all, Dave Steckel will be our acting head coach. So when you see him on the sidelines on Saturday's game against Texas Tech, he will be the acting head coach. Now that also, though, Gabe, with Dave Yost, and you have our offensive coordinator too, that's kind of a couple of people there that are obviously leading everything that we're doing. But Dave, in effect, would be the acting head coach. And then secondly, no, when Coach departed the complex this afternoon at 2:45, he won't be involved in game preparation or meeting preparation or whatever that may be, but he will return back to the Mizzou Athletic Training Complex on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. You know, primarily on those, Brian, ultimately that'll be me. That would be the person that would make that recommendation. But I have a lot of people, you know, that I would talk to internally. I also talked to Coach Pinkel about what some of my thoughts were on this. I obviously would advise Dr. Deaton, but ultimately that would be me that would go to Dr. Deaton with my my recommendations. And I did that at 11:45 this morning. Well, first of all, let me say this is, for us, this is completely out of character from what we have seen over the course of the 11 years that we've worked together. Certainly, Coach Pinkel has assured us that this was an isolated situation, that this would not happen again. And what I was saying to you, that if in fact something like this would ever happen again, and we don't anticipate it ever would, but if it did, it would result in much further disciplinary action, which could include up to and including termination. I would think some of it, of course, would. You know, I think that you take a look at what we hold ourselves to, the standards that we hold ourselves to, and you look at that and know that what we're trying to do is model behavior. We're trying to be able to represent that in everything that we do, and certainly recognizing that a couple of these situations had taken place, about 14 months ago, whatever that may be. I think that's certainly something that would enter into it has to enter into your thought process. You know, we tell our staff this, we tell our kids this all the time. We're always on. That's our comment. We are always on. There's no time that you are ever off the clock. There is no time that you're not held to a higher standard. And so for us, seeing what took place here, you know, last night and then learning about that this morning, that's certainly consistent with what we always tell our kids. Sorry. You know, I think the conversation I had with Coach Pinkel, I'll prefer to keep that between Coach Pinkel and I. But I can tell you this, and again, I know him very well. He's a tremendous guy, and he has great character, and he was unbelievably remorseful, as I would expect he would be. No. You know, again, Mike, I would choose not to talk about what Gary and I talk about when we're in our meetings and what I did in this particular case. Suffice it to say that this is a decision made by the University of Missouri, particularly made by me and recommended to our chancellor, and our chancellor supported it and has supported that. Let me just say that I think that on that particular case right there, that Coach Pinkel understood that a week's worth of salary was going to be donated to an area which was going to be important for all of us. And per his thoughts and our thoughts collectively, he thought that that would be a perfect place to be able to donate those types of dollars directly towards an issue of which we're addressing right now. Let's start with 2:45 today. Okay, so at some point around 2:45 today until Thursday morning, which would be Thanksgiving morning. Coach Pinkel will not have a responsibility as the head football coach here at the University of Missouri. He will not be in meetings. He will not be at the Matsy. He will not be at the football game on Saturday. That's correct. I think the issues that we try to deal with, we don't deal with them in a cookie cutter approach. And I think those issues that we talked about and we dealt with a year and a half ago are different than this issue that we're talking about. I think our ability to be able to take a look at this in a comprehensive fashion gave us a little bit more latitude, which I believe that you necessarily can have with student athletes. And I think we took advantage of that in a very significant way. And we made the decision that it was going to be one game, 1 week of pay away, an additional week that was going to be donated to the Wellness Resource Center on our campus, freezing a salary, eliminating several bonuses, a letter of reprimand, letter of public apology, and a number of other issues that we think comprehensively, clearly address the issue that we're talking about. I think this is a tremendous statement to our student athletes of what we're all about. You know, I don't have knowledge of how it was handled last night or what coaches' plans would be from going forward. You know, my understanding is that it was handled in a very respectful manner. That's what I understand. I would think in the not too distant future. I don't know, you know, I don't want to put a time on that, Manny, because I think there's some you know, there's obviously thought that's going to be placed into that. I think there's going to be emotion that's going to be placed into that, and certainly you wouldn't want to put a time frame on that. But I would think that you would see it in the not too distant future. I don't think that's necessary for Coach Pinkel to stand up and answer these questions. I think it's important for me to be able to do that at this time, because of the consequences that he has created for us. It's my responsibility as the Director of Athletics to be able to speak on behalf of our department and what we're doing relative to a staff member that we have. And so I made the decision for Coach Pinkel not to be here today, and that I needed to be that person to stand up as the person that oversees our program.